the Jesus that they disagree with be white. So it was in the political interest of the so-called Jewish people to have the Jesus that they disagree with be white. They claim they are against Christ, but that's halfway true. They are against the Christ written of in the Bible. They are not against the Caesar Borgia image of Christ, because it's those images that give them credibility on the earth as Jewish when they are not. The Bible did prophesy this blasphemous act in the books removed by the Catholic Church called the Apocrypha. They did this to hide their lies. It identifies the false Christ promoted on earth and the people who would do the blasphemous act. These are the books your pastor claim are not spiritually inspired, and that Christ is not written of in the Apocrypha, but that is a lie. He is written all throughout the Apocrypha. Wisdom of Solomon 14, King James Version, verse 8. But that which is made with hands is cursed, as well it as he that made it. He, because he made it, and it, because being corruptible, it was called God. This is speaking of idolatry. Making an image like you see in the Catholic Church with all the pictures of so-called Semiramis, or like in the Black Christian Church with its images of statues of white Jesus and angels. These images that are upheld as God are cursed according to the scriptures, and by this deceit, people will start to believe another people were the Jews. This led to heathens being promoted as the Jews, opposed to the real people who are still in captivity to this very day. Believe on Christ as the scriptures say. So, as I move on, I'm just waiting for my computer to load the next page here. This goes for people like, Sharon Osbourne, who has a history of saying very vulgar and racist things to black people. There was a whole thing with her and Cheryl Underwood, and this causes her, to look down on our people, but it's actually her people that are the thieves. Her people slithered in, stealing our culture, our history. You see that husband that she married to? That caveman? That be eating the heads off bats? That's where they come from. Their ancestors come from Russia, Germany, Poland. No, they're not the real people. So why is she talking about you messed with the wrong Jew? Yeah, you did mess with the wrong Jew. You messed with Kanye. You messed with the wrong one. You speaking that over your life. I mean, look at her coming up. Look at her kids coming up. Very disrespectful. I seen the shows. Definitely don't look nothing like the Torah. But then again, that's because they use the Talmud and the Kabbalah. So I thought that was very interesting. She will sit up here and try to blast Kanye West for what he said. But she said hurtful things about Negroes who are the true Jews, who are the real children of Israel. She needs to know her place, that she's a convert. And she not even that. Not with that husband that's biting heads off bats. You know where you and him going. Wisdom of Solomon 14, King James Version continued. Verse 9. For the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike. hateful unto God. For that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, because in the creature of God they are become an abomination, and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. Verse 12. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life. Verse 13. For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. Verse 14. For by the vainglory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end. Verse 15. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he hath made an image of his child, soon taken away, now honored him as a god, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Verse 16. Thus in the process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings. Verse 17. Whom men could not honor in presence, because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage from afar, and made an express image of a king, of whom they honored, to the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent, as if he were present. Our God of Israel hates these images. They go against his very first commandment. Have no other gods before me. Do not make any graven images. The people who made this image will receive a judgment for doing this. By them creating this image, they have deceived the people who needed the Bible, which was their plan anyway. These images became a stumbling block to the unlearned. They will see these images and walk away from the scriptures that were put in place for our protection. Who did the Bible say did this? Who will have a visitation because of their idols? Gentiles. Most importantly, when the apostles were going around teaching the gospel, they did not carry these images. Verse 15 is prophetically speaking of what Rodrigo de Borgia did with his son, Cesare. Jesus is God is what you tell your children. When you speak Jesus, what image comes to mind? This results in a white supremacy being promoted, that at the end of the day, the white man is God. Wrong! That's so cute. But it's wrong! Your Christian pastor doesn't know why they teach JC is God, when the Bible makes it very clear that the Most High and Christ are two separate entities. The Apocrypha prophesied that a man would come and place the image of his son, and that man's image will be promoted throughout the earth as God. Why is it that white folk can't just come out and admit the fact that Christ is a black man? They know he wasn't white, so they say things like, oh yeah, I know Christ is not white. He was more Middle Eastern. Or my favorite, Christ was olive skin toned. Olives come in green or black, and I've never seen a green man, well, except for that little alien dude named Gazoo on the Flintstones. Anything but a black man. It is so hard for them to admit it. Why? Because it breaks their spell. When we realize Christ is a Negro, the curse was broken. What does the scripture say? John 8, King James Version, verse 31. Then said Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. Verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Getting back to the Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon 14, King James Version. You see in verse 15, that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Well, here goes your holidays: Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Saturnalia, and etc. Folks, What you must realize is these holidays have been worshipped since ancient Babylon under Nimrod. What you know as Halloween and Christmas used to be called Samhain or All Hallows Eve, and Christmas was called Saturnalia. These same ancient holidays were called different names in all the different empires. So the Romans might call Christmas Saturnalia, but the Greeks might have called the same feast a different name, and so on with the Egyptians. Now, this is where your Ray Hagans come in, claiming the Bible plagiarized events. Semiramis and the Yule Child from Egypt, such as these ancient holidays, but like I said, the Bible condemns these holidays. Nowhere in the Bible does it say Mary was upheld as a goddess. So how can they say the Bible plagiarized their paganism? Isis is not the Mary written of in the Bible. In fact, none of the ancient Kemetic stories can be found in the Bible. And of course, they don't want to deal with the real. But what these people in Kemet do is they look at what the Roman Catholic Church established. The Catholics have always worshipped ancient Babylonian rituals. But if you believe as the scriptures say believe in Christ, you will easily know that the Kemet doctrine is no bueno in regards to Israel. Nimrod was a real man, people. He really existed. What does the scripture state about this mother and child? Nimrod was a black man. Look at that beard. See these little dots and stuff like that? See, that's a beard. This represents his beard. They used to put their beard like in dreads and braids and stuff, just like you do today. Look at his hair. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. Woolly. Fro. That's a fro. That's a black man. And see how they try to paint their pictures a different color? You see it? That is called iconoclasm. I'm going to talk about that later. You see, the Trinity got its start in ancient Babylon with Nimrod, Tammuz, and Semiramis. Semiramis demanded worship for both her husband and her son, as well as herself. Or Semiramis, I'm sorry. Yes, he was the God. He was God the Father and God the Son, the first divine, incomprehensible Trinity. The Two Babylons, Alexander Hislop, page 51. And thank you to the source who brought that book. Look, you could tell, even then, she's black. Look at her. She's black. Giving us some time to read it. Alright, and so the picture reads Isis / Azili Danto, symbols of the great warrior, mother, and goddess. This image of Isis nursing Horus served as inspiration for the classic Christian portrait of Madonna and Child, both of which descended from Vodun's divine mother, Azili Danto of Africa / Haiti, mother of all the nations / races, and whose worship predates all the world's divine mothers / goddesses and religions. Isis, Osiris, and Horus descended from La Madrasa Le Mo E Le Miste, also inspired the Holy Christian Trinity. Sitting on the lap of Isis or throne of Isis was language for the warrior mother slash goddess, right to choose the next warrior leader, king slash queen. Zili Danto of Haiti fame chose Boukman to lead the Haitian Revolution. Alright, and then Semiramis, the mother and wife of Nimrod slash Baal. She was called Ishtar, pronounced Easter or Eastre. In English, Astarte, Astaroth, and Isis, Egypt. Now Mary of the Catholic Church. Well, that's who they want y'all to think Mary is. But it's not. And I know like a lot of Latin people are into Catholicism, and you know they wear their rosary beads, and you know they have the Mother Mary. That lady, you know, looked like she got on like some, I don't know, a Roman toga with, I don't know, a hood, you know, that kind of thing. That's not Mary. That's not Christ's mother. Christ's mother was black, just like Christ. So, you know that's not Christ's mother. But if you look on the picture that I showed you, in the bottom right hand corner, you will see, you know, she got this, like, thing on her head with these lines sticking out. You know, the Statue of Liberty is like that, with the Statue of Liberty have around her head. And then the Starbucks, it's the same way. And then I think it's Columbia Pictures with the white, with the white lady with the white dress on, and she got the blue garment in her arm, and she holding a light. Yes, those are all like entities and deities. On one of my earlier posts, or maybe it was on my other page, when I was talking about my book, I had showed a picture. I think it was a Paramount. I think Paramount is the one that have the stars, and they're like going over the water, and then it's going over the, you know, making a semicircle over the mountain. Well, that represents the watchmen, the fallen angels coming down to earth, and they made a pact on, I believe it was Mount Hermon, I believe, but they made a pact. It was 200 of them, and they made a pact. You know, they taught women how to do makeup, and you know, they loved hair. They loved the women's hair. So, you know, they taught mankind a lot of things that probably we shouldn't know. But anyway, moving on. Ezekiel 8, King James Version, verse 13. He said also unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou, I have this underlined, thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. 14. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz, and that's underlined. Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. Verse 16. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped the sun toward the east. Verse 17. Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. Verse 18. Therefore will I also deal in fury. Mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. Alright. So I said, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Who is Tammuz? Tammuz is the virgin child of ancient Babylonia that the Kemetic community claims was plagiarized by the Bible. But the Bible shows this particular worship as an abomination. This is why it is important to know history. I know many of my people who do actually read the Bible come across these names like Tammuz, Diana, and etc. and wonder to themselves, who are these people and why were they worshipped? What happened? Well, I am telling you what happened. And people will use things like what the Catholic Church set up to go against the Bible. Even you, Christians, need to be able to clear these inconsistencies up. You lose debates against the atheists, the Kemetic community, and others because you lack the history in which you are not able to win souls for Christ. Mary and Christ, or Miriam and Yeshua, have nothing to do with the mother Semiramis and the pagan Yule child Tammuz. It is not of the Bible, but the Bible does condemn the abomination. The term virgin used in the Bible meant maiden, a young woman, whether she is married or not. It's not the virgin of today or of ancient Babylon, and definitely not the blasphemy you hear on the many lame Christmas recitals and Sunday speeches. Oh, and by the way, our priests started to do Sunday worship. Now, these are things that Christians are ignorantly doing today, breaking the laws of the Most High in the name of Christ. Now, let's make this clear. The Most High made Christ. Christ is an entity from the Most High that was sent to create. Christians are saying by their actions and doctrine that Christ came to undo everything that was established by the Father, which is a lie. Getting back to the Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon, Wisdom of Solomon 14, King James Version. You see in verse 16, thus in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings. Here is the prophecy of Sunday worship being established by the same people who put up the false image. This was done to rival the Sabbath that the Most High established and said, remember, Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11, King James Version. With Sunday, we see a new law outside of the laws already established by the God of Israel in the same Bible. They have made a new commandment. They are saying, no longer will we observe the Sabbath, which is the Israelites' holy day under the Israelites' God, but instead we will worship on the first day of the week. Today, when you tell someone you worship on the biblical Sabbath, people say things like, oh, don't the Jews do that? That excuse is garbage. All 12 tribes worship the Sabbath. Jude derives from Judah, or those of Judea, the southern kingdom that consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. The northern kingdom worshipped the Sabbath as well. The whole nation of Israel hallowed the Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. The church says, oh, well, that was then, and we do things different now. We not under the law. And they claim Christ rose on Sunday, which is a lie. The so-called Holy Fathers are Romans who brought Roman philosophy after the disciples. These false fathers of lies claim that a group of people commemorated Sunday as the new day of worship because Christ allegedly rose on Sunday, which is not true. How do you get 3 days and 3 nights between Friday and Sunday? 3 days and 3 nights would make Monday the day of worship. Their doctrine makes no sense. Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon 14, King James Version, verse 17. They took the counterfeit of his visage from afar. Counterfeit. Now, do you see why the Catholic Church removed these books called the Apocrypha out of the original Bible? This topic is just one of the many topics that gave them reason to remove the lost books they claim was not spiritually inspired? No, that is what they told you. There are other topics such as the natives coming into the New World and them being conquered. Verse 18 is a prophecy of a challenge being put out to all the best artists where they would be paid for whoever produced the more convincing false image of Caesar Borgia as Christ. Artists such as Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and some other artists all stepped up to the challenge. I do go into greater detail on this very subject later on in this section. Wisdom of Solomon, King James Version, chapter 14, verse 18. Also, the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition, for he, peradventure, willing to please one in authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion. And so the multitude, allured by the grace of the work, took him now for a god, which a little before was but honored. And this was an occasion to deceive the world, for men serving either calamity or tyranny did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name. Our people took a white man for God, claiming a white Christ is God, but this was just a man that the whole world worships and believes in. Don't say you don't worship him. How many of you share those chain pictures with the white Christ on it, saying things like, if you love me like this, and share? Or, I die for you. If you believe in me, like and share on Facebook. I'm sorry, for my older people, the Facebook, because you know older people, they like to call Facebook the Facebook. I don't know why. When you do these things, you just proved the very thing I stated. You fell for the strong delusion and you worship another Jesus. When you see the real image of Caesar Borgia, who was a poisoner, he looks disturbed or militant even. With the stroke of the paintbrush, just like all the celebrities in Hollywood, these artists were able to make a vile man look like sweet Jesus. Who is deceived? The whole world, according to verse 21. But doesn't Revelation 12 and 9, King James Version, say Satan would deceive the whole world? Well, you are finding out how he did it. He did this so that our people will walk away from the Bible. He did this so that our people would walk away from our history, our heritage, and our culture. If our people can tie in our condition to the ones who are pretending to be the chosen people, and we see that they appear to be so blessed even when they do atrocities to us, we would think that the Bible is a white man's book. We would think the Bible blesses the white man and gave him authority to enslave us, in which a lot of black men and women do think this, even though it's not true. We will see it's not true if we will actually read the Bible. But we as a people walk away from our only solution. It was our disobedience and us as a people never keeping our end of the deal that our ancestors made with the Most High that gave the authority